Hello, my name is Brittany D. I am a psychic medium and spiritual teacher. My divine purpose is to assist in the expansion of the collective consciousness and to help you become more connected with the divine. This is a space to remember all that you truly are and ignite the possibilities of your highest potential. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for being here with me in this present now moment. I'm really grateful you're tuning in today. And especially to this episode because we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence. Now, it's kind of interesting for a spiritual person or a spiritual teacher to be talking about emotional intelligence. That's like psychology, right? Well, yes. So I will tread lightly because I'm not a professional, but emotional intelligence is a huge part of the spiritual journey. It's a huge part of growing and expanding and actually learning from your past and your trials and your conflicts. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the textbook definition of emotional intelligence. The capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. Now, this emotional intelligence also, simply said, can be defined as the ability to identify and manage your emotions and those of others. So it's managing and identifying and working with your emotions and also with others. So it's not necessarily a spiritual term, but it's an extremely important part of the spiritual journey as you are here on earth where emotions are very real. And it relates to shadow work. People say shadow work, the work that is of the darkness, the things that are our darkness and the things that we don't want to feel and the things that make us feel uncomfortable. That's where the true inner work is. And that's where you need to go to grow and evolve. So emotional intelligence is extremely relevant to spiritual teachings and the spiritual journey, because it's tied into, the shadow work and really being able to do the shadow work. And so it roots from knowing who you are. So connecting with yourself and your emotions. And if you're somebody that doesn't feel like you know who you are, I have a 5-day challenge. I'll drop the link in the show notes, but it's literally called Knowing Yourself. And it's a very step-by-step getting to know yourself at a deeper level. So feel free to check that out. But it's really important for you to know yourself in order to have emotional intelligence at all. It's fundamental, honestly, to know who you are in order to be emotionally intelligent. So every sort of intelligence signals an ability to navigate well around a particular set of challenges. And so emotional intelligence is just for emotions. And it recognizes what's going on beneath the surface. So, for example, an emotional outburst may actually be a disguise for, please help me, I need help. It does not go based on the surface of the wisdom of the feeling. It goes beyond that, knowing that our anger could be covering sadness or our hatred is a mask for a lack of love. Now, this isn't a inborn talent. It comes through educating yourself. And so really educating yourself on how to interpret yourself and others, where emotions arise from, how our childhood influences us now, and how we might best navigate our fears and our desires. So I just want to take a moment and ask you all just a quick question or a few questions here. Have you thought in the last week whether or not you are an emotionally intelligent person? Do you consider yourself to be emotionally intelligent? Have you ever consciously worked on your emotional skill? Because that's what it takes. You have to first be aware of your incompetence in a particular area in order to learn more. So being aware if I do consider myself an emotionally intelligent person, or if did I ever spend any conscious time working on emotional skills? It's important because when you recognize that incompetence in that particular area, then you can have some space for growth and start to dive into learning more. And so just like anything, in the beginning, it's really difficult, or I shouldn't even say really difficult. It can be for some, maybe not, but it's kind of like, like when you're driving a car, you first start to drive a car, you're like, oh my God, this wheel's weird. This is a whole machine. Like I'm shifting gears, like everything's really difficult and it's almost a little scary and intimidating. But as you get better, the more it just becomes second nature, and eventually you're just being emotionally intelligent. You don't have to think about it. It's just like when you get in your car and you just drive, you don't even think about it. You're just driving. I mean, nowadays we're doing a gazillion things while we're driving. So it literally can get to that level of just autopilot, and you're just being emotionally intelligent in your life. And honestly, doing so, there won't be any more like of the boiling up and then running away and hiding and crying. And I mean, I remember what that is like, and it's very painful and self-destructive. And it's really not at service to you, to others, to the collective. Becoming emotionally intelligent is really, really important in order to have a successful life, in order to be happy, and in order to do your shadow work, in order to have spiritual growth and expansion. It's just extremely important. And so 3 skills to have with emotional intelligence is 1, emotional awareness. So that's empathy towards others and also towards yourself. 2, the ability to harness emotions and apply them to tasks like thinking or problem solving. And 3, the ability to manage emotions. So this is your own and others. So, and I don't mean others as in like you can change someone's emotions, but just being able to cheer them up or calm them down or whatever it may be. But very emotional people may not be thinking about that or knowing why they're even having emotions, or the appropriateness of when they show them in a particular situation. Lacking emotional intelligence usually causes loneliness and fear and sometimes even aggression. And so it's really important in order to even operate with others and to exist in a space with others. And so understanding and awareness are literally key to this. And I really do wish this stuff was in our public education. Like, I don't know why we're not being taught this stuff in schools. I mean, I think I know why. There's a bigger plan, but I just really, really wish, I desire that one day this stuff is being taught in our schools, because it would greatly, greatly help kids, and as they grow to have a level of emotional intelligence. But know that you can educate yourself and get better now. You can start taking the steps now. And so a few steps in order to have a greater level of emotional intelligence. I'm going to give you 6 steps here. So step 1 is acknowledge your emotions. So acknowledging them for the value that they really have for you, not just being inauthentic and saying, I'm fine, and not complaining, like being real, like making it about you and my emotions, and And honestly, if you guys follow me, you know, like I post all the time about how I'm so over this taboo in our society to not talk about emotions or to not show our emotions, or like it's especially on social media. Like I literally just wrote a whole post, and I'm trying not to go on a tangent, but I literally just wrote a whole post about how, why do influencers on social media not show emotions? Like it's just happiness and everything else is like behind closed doors, and then we pop back on. Like, I understand the average person that's not even maybe on their phone that much. It's like whenever you're going through shit, you really don't even want to be on your phone. But people who share all of their lives and just leave out like uncomfortable emotions, like it's just a horrible example for our kids. And I will not do it. I cannot do it. Like there's not, I mean, maybe like, you know, I'm always subject to change. I'm always growing, learning, and expanding, and maybe something will present itself where I'll understand why. But right now in this present moment, I do not understand why we don't acknowledge all of our emotions as influencers. I really don't understand it. I mean, I feel like I do. I literally cry on my stories. When I'm crying, I'm like, listen, you guys are going to know that I'm crying and I'm having a bad day, because this is what my day is. And I share my everyday with you. And this is what my day is. Like, this is real life. Anyways, sorry. I said I wasn't going to go on a tangent. Okay. Step 1, acknowledge your emotions with the value that they really have for you. Like they really have a lot to bring you. Step 2 is to differentiate and analyze your emotions. So not returning to that old emotional state just because that's what you know and that's what's comfortable, but to analyze what these emotions are presenting for you. And step 3 is to accept and appreciate the emotions. So seeing things from a higher perspective, stepping back just a little bit. Emotions in themselves, no matter what emotion it is not necessarily good or bad. That emotion is just that emotion. It just is. And in society, we put that this is a good and this is a bad, and this is a good emotion, this is a bad emotion, and that's all part of the matrix. That's all part of how they want you to be, how they're training you to be. What the reality, stepping back and looking at it from a higher perspective, they're just emotions. It just is. Not good or bad, just is. So once you make it to step 3, I would definitely say journaling. I would definitely journal at this point, acknowledging them, analyzing them, and accepting and appreciating them, and then write it out. Because it's almost like writing it out. When you can write it out and look at it on a piece of paper, it's like you can step back into that higher perspective and like look at them. Like I'm witnessing them instead of being in the depths of good or bad or uncomfortable or fantastic. You're just looking at them for what they are, or whatever that emotion is. And step 4 is reflecting on your emotions and your origin. So knowing why you feel the way you feel, where is this coming from? Where is this rooted in? It actually helps you feeling it. Like when you know where this is from, you get a sense of relief. You're like, oh, that happened at that time. And that makes sense why I would react that way and hold on to this or that. Whenever you don't know, oh my gosh, it's a lot more intense of a feeling because you don't understand and you're like lost in confusion and you're already feeling the feeling and then now you're confused and it can feel like boulders are piling up on top of you. And then step 5, guys, this one is so important. This is where the real growth happens. Shifts. Handling your emotions. So finding your way on how to handle your emotions. So once again, writing it down, you see it from that observer perspective. Talk to friends, get advice, therapy. There's all different ways to handle your emotions. And I actually went through a bunch of tips that I have in my other episode called Spiritual Bypassing. Some tips to feel a feeling and let it move through you. But handling your emotions is so important. Like, it is how you become more mature. It's how you grow. It's how you level up, honestly. And then step 6 would be to get to where you are mastering handling the emotions of others. So once you can master handling your own emotions, then it gets easier to handle the emotions of others. And then that way you can say things like, how can I support you? How can I support myself through this? Handling the emotions of others is possible once you have grounded in handling your own emotions. And being able to handle your own emotions and handle the emotions of others, this is when you get into really being and becoming emotionally intelligent. And it is going to help you so much in life to be able to work with others and co-create and thrive and have relationships and partnerships and romance and teachers and, collaborative, collective ideas and all kinds of things. Like, whenever you can't work with others, when you can hardly work with yourself, you really can't work with others. And when you can't work with others, life is pretty lonely. And so having emotional intelligence, it's like this key to living more successfully and living more fulfilling. And you're always growing, you're always getting better at it, but just getting at least to a place where you can handle it, where you can harness it. It's really important. And I'm just going to let you guys go today by saying that you want to handle your emotions before they handle you, because they will. And it's your choice. It's your option. You have the power. You have to educate yourself and decide that this is no longer going to have its hold on you. Take the reins, take the power, and become the next level version of yourself that knows themselves well enough to not only handle your emotions, but also hold someone else's. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed that episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and if this was impactful for you at all, please share it with others. This is how we can help each other. Much love and namaste.